international issues then.
We were
Brexit. So what was Brexit about?
it was about the Britain exiting the European Union.
And has the process been completed?
Almost.
Almost, right? But you saw how difficult
Yes.
it was for them to leave the European Union because of the strength of the EU. Because if you are leaving the EU, it means most of the things that you benefit as a member of EU, you no longer benefit. The adoption of the single currency made it easy for trade flow between or among countries in the EU zone. For instance, if you are traveling from France to Germany, you don't need to look for a foreign currency. I mean, whatever you have in your purse, you can use that. Okay. It also allowed them to move freely within the EU region without difficulties. So this, of course, contributed to growth in trade among the EU zone. So this is an assignment. I want you to examine the impact of the Ukraine-Russia war on international business. Okay, is it a difficult assignment? In 2017, it's not difficult, so you can do that. Everyone should do it and send it to me, I think by email. So you can send it to me by email. Did I give you the course outline?
No, please.
Not yet. Okay, so class rep, kindly remind me right after the class, and I'll share the course outline on the platform. So the EU-ECOWAS Economic Partnership Agreement 2017 also enhanced trade among countries in the EU and then countries in ECOWAS. What was the agreement? They asked for access to sell to us at reduced or without any difficulties. And then also give us access to their market. See, but there were a lot of noise made by citizens in the sub-region. And the argument some of them advanced was that ECOWAS does not have the capacity to compete with European corporations. So whatever you are sending there is either too expensive or it doesn't meet the quality that is required by citizens in those countries. Okay, so that was one of the difficulties that the citizens or people had, but nonetheless, the agreement was signed in 2017, and now the EU has access to ECOWAS market, and ECOWAS also has access to EU market. Okay. Outsourcing. Let's assess the impact of outsourcing on trade. What is outsourcing? Any other?
Giving some kind of non-core activity of your business to an outsider to manage.
Yes, to a third party to manage for you.
Yeah.
Okay. So in the context of multinational financial management, outsourcing refers to subcontracting to a third party in another country, okay, to provide supplies or services that were previously produced internally. For instance, when it comes to construction, which country?
Again.
When it comes to construction, which country do you see doing most of the construction works in Ghana?
China.
China.
Good.
China.
Because we believe they have the comparative advantage in doing so. So because of that, you see Ghana subcontracting the construction of roads, and not just roads, some other facilities to China. And that definitely is going to enhance trade between these two countries. Okay, so outsourcing also increases the volume of trade between countries. All right. But the criticism of outsourcing is that it reduces jobs in the home country. Is that the only problem with outsourcing to a foreign country?
No.
What are the other problems? Let's discuss them. Apart from job loss.
Sometimes exposes your secret to a third.
Kindly raise your hand. Then I'll let you talk. Otherwise, the class will become. So raise your hand. Just raise your hand and then we will allow you to talk. But if everybody is talking, then we won't hear you. Yes, Kwame.
Yes. Outsourcing also need to be secret, or the security of the company is being exposed to outsiders.
But here we are referring to outsourcing by a country. Okay, so let's say Ghana outsourcing the construction of roads to a Chinese company. So what are the risks? Yeah, Dom. Kwabena, let's hear you.
Outsourcing kills businesses in the home country and prevents them from emerging. So it kills local businesses.
It kills local
businesses in that same industry from emerging.
Yes. What about loss in income? Okay, and also, okay, yes. Who is iPhone? I will not let you talk. Carl, let's hear you.
So I was about to say what you just said, but then I said it will increase our outflow.
Okay, so it also puts you in a very uncomfortable balance of payment position. Okay. Yes, wisdom.
Please, there will be like a depreciation on the cities, because when they generate, after making a profit from Ghana, they would want to change the currency back into their cities.
Okay, so it puts pressure on your currency. Yes, so that's true. So we see there are so many problems with outsourcing, and that's why we want to do things on our own. But sometimes you just can't help it because of the quality that outsourcing can give you. If you don't have the comparative advantage in doing something, it is fair to outsource it. But you have to weigh the benefits to the costs and see which one you can manage with. But whichever way you look at it, I think that if you don't do it on your own, how do you develop the competencies in doing that? Factors affecting international trade flows. One, cost of labor. Why would a multinational corporation move to another country? Or if we want to attract FDI into Ghana, how do we do that?
Sir, please, I raised my hand.
Oh, you raise your hand. Okay, let's hear you. Susanna. Or is it Susanna?
I was saying,
what's your name?
Yes, please. Susanna.
You didn't spell your name.
Yes, please. Susanna Ashley.
All right, so let's hear.
It's Ashley. Susanna. Okay. Increase in social vices.
Hey, your network is terrible. So if you could.
As a criticism.
Sorry?
So should I type it? Kind of social vices.
Yeah. Social vices, increase in social vices.
Yes.
How? Let's hear
it. So when foreigners come into the country, especially with those who smoke and they drink and they take in high drugs, they would like to bring those drugs into the country and then by all means influence those around them.
Oh, I see. That's a valid point. But is smoking a social vice? If you say this, some people will take you on. Is smoking? Do we have a brother of Bob Marley in this class? Is smoking a social vice? Susanna.
It's not accepted in Ghana, so it's a social vice.
Smoking is not accepted in Ghana.
People smoke cigarettes. What do you mean?
Please.
I'm cool.
Are you sure smoking is not allowed in Ghana?
Yeah. Who smoke cigarettes all the time?
You can get cigarettes by
marijuana, cocaine, and other high drugs.
Okay, so the other hydra.
Yes,
fine.
please.
Okay. So social vices. All right. So I will agree with you on that. Some of them will come and impregnate Ghanaian school-going children. It happens all over the country. Okay. So factors affecting international trade flows. Cost of labor. Firms in countries where labor costs are low will definitely have an advantage when competing globally, especially in industries where they use more labor, that is labor-intensive industries. And I'm sure we can all see this. Why is China's goods everywhere? Why do you see Chinese goods everywhere? Because the cost of labor in China is lower, and that means the cost of production is going to be lower. And when they expect or present it in the global market, their goods are going to be cheaper. And who doesn't want to buy cheap things? Holding the quality constant. So if the quality is the same and the price of the Chinese goods are lower, people always want to buy the Chinese goods. Similarly, if you know the cost of labor is cheaper in China, you would want to set up a subsidiary there in order to take advantage of the cheap labor. So in countries where the cost of labor is low, you will see more trade flow into that country. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Then the second one is inflation. So in a country where there is inflation, persistent increase in prices of goods and services, what will happen? We are saying the current account will decrease, the current account balance will decrease if the inflation increases relative to trade partners. So let's say all countries are at 10% rate of inflation, but Ghana's inflation increases to, let's say, 15%. We are saying that it will lead to a reduction in our current account balance. And the reason is that Ghanaian goods are going to be more expensive in the global market. Okay, so when you have inflation in Ghana, it means prices are higher in Ghana. And when we try to sell at the higher prices, our goods will be seen to be more expensive and nobody buys. And that means that the inflow of funds due to exports is going to reduce, or the value of your exports will reduce. The amount of exports you can make will reduce, and that will lead to a reduction in your current account balance. So here we are speaking in relative terms, okay? So if your inflation rate increases at a rate higher than that of your trading partners, then you should expect that your exports will be affected and that means your current account balance will reduce. So that's the second factor. Then the third factor is national income. So national income. I'm sure you know what national income is. What is national income? Let me test your understanding of your economics that you have done. What is national income? Oh, come on. Salom. Azanu. Salom.
I'm here.
Yes, so let's hear you.
National income.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Sir, please. National income refers to the total income a country earns from an activity within a year.
Okay.
Yes, please.
Okay, let's hear. I think Victoria, you raised your hand. Was it Victoria? Or you've changed your mind? Ben. Okay, Victoria, let's hear you. Victoria,
Hello, sir.
Let's hear Victoria.
It's a sum of the income from consumption of households.
There's a sum of income
from households.
from households.
From household or individuals. Then that's of
Okay.
firms and
Okay.
government, revenue from government. Then
Okay, so let's hear. All right, that's okay, Victoria. Let's hear Ben.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
So national income is the goods and services produced by a country in a financial year.
Are you sure? I will not agree with you. Oh. Compose it well.
So the value the value of goods and services produced by a country in a particular year.
Let me hear. Susanna, let me hear you.
Okay, thank you, sir. So national income is the a country's consumption, the government investment, the exports, and then the imports. Is the total of all of them.
Oh, I see. I'm not getting what I want. Bernard, we can't hear you, so mute yourself.
Okay, sir.
We can't hear you. Hello? So let's mute you. Mute yourself. Ben. Okay, let's hear you, Ben. Your hand is up. No, Bernard, we can't hear your network. Theophilus.
Hello, sir.
Hello.
Yes, Theo.
Sir, please, can I go on?
Yes, go on, Theophilus.
Okay, so national income is the total value of goods and services produced in the country plus income coming from abroad as well.
Net factor income from abroad.
Yes, please.
Because we also pay income abroad. Okay. But the true meaning of national income is income earned by productive factors owned by the citizens of the country. Okay. I'm sure you know about the factors of production. You know the factors of production, right?
Yes, please.
Yes. We also call them economic resources.
Yes.
So when we say resources are scarce, we are referring to these factors of production.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Land, labor, capital, and what?
Entrepreneur.
Good. So these are the four major factors of production. And the income that is generated by these productive factors is what we call the national income. Okay, national income. Income earned by labor is what? Wages and salaries. Capital is what? Interest. So if you have Ghanaians working abroad, they earn income, right? Good. So if the national income of a country increases relative to that of other countries, we are saying that current account will decrease. I'm sure you remember the law of demand. What does the law of demand say?
The law of demand says that all things be equal. When price decreases, demand decreases, and when demand increases, price increases.
So no, we won't take it. Let's get someone to give us the law of demand.
Hello, sir.
Yes, you should be able to sing
that. All other things being equal, the higher the price, the lower the demand, and the lower the price, the higher the demand.
Good. So what do you mean by all other things being equal? Which are the other things?
Okay, so all other factors except the price of demand.
Good. So we have so many other factors affecting demand. So if we hold all those factors constant and assume they are not going to change, if price increases, then demand is going to fall, right? And if price reduces, demand is going to what? Increase. But the theory of demand itself says that there are so many factors affecting what? Demand. And one of those other factors was what? Income of the consumer, right? Income of the consumer is one of the factors of demand. And what is the relationship between income and demand? I'm just trying to bring you to the same page.
So yes. They usually have a positive relationship.
So meaning?
Higher the income, the higher the possibility of demand.
No, not possibility.
There is a positive relationship.
Good. So higher income, higher demand. Okay. For normal goods. Okay. For normal goods. But for abnormal goods, when your income increases, you dump them and move to a superior good or a normal good. Right? Good. Now, the national income, are paid to citizens. Productive factors owned by Ghanaians. Labor, wages and salaries. It goes to households, individuals. Capital. Capital is owned by individuals or households. When you save in the bank, the money is generated and then it is given to others. They operate and they pay interest. The interest is paid to the household. So income is earned by households. Capital, labor, entrepreneurship. You set up a business, it is generating income. That income is going to somebody in the form of dividends. Okay? It goes to households. If you also think of land is owned by others, right? And they receive the income. Even if the royalties and everything is received by government also spend, okay, on goods and services. So when a country's income increases, then their demand for goods and services, including foreign goods, also increase. Okay, so a country with an increase in national income is going to experience an increase in demand for all goods and services, and that includes imported goods. Okay, so when a country's income increases, they also increase imports. That's why you see a positive relationship between income and imports. Okay, and when you are importing, it means that your current account balance is going to reduce. Remember, the current account balance, there's the mechanized trade section of it, which is your export of goods and services minus your import of goods and services. So if the imports increase, then it will affect your current account balance. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Good. So we make progress. So national income is one of the factors affecting the flow of trade. Credit conditions. Credit conditions tend to tighten when economic conditions weaken. Okay? Right now, if you go to a bank and tell them you're going to borrow, and when you borrow, you are going to do business. And when the business generates income, then you pay. The bank will look at so many factors. They will look at the feasibility of the business you are going to do and whether it can generate the income to pay them. Then two, they will look at the macroeconomic environment in Ghana to see whether there's a potential decline in economic activities or there will be a growth in the economy. So they look at these factors, they realize that the economy is going to suffer some shocks, then they will tighten the conditions that qualify you to take credit from them. Okay, so banks will be less willing to extend financing to multinational corporations in economies where they expect a recession or even a depression. Okay, so credit conditions will tighten in those economies. And when that happens, multinational corporations will find it difficult to function. Okay, and that means that the ability to generate enough and even export is going to be affected. So those who were planning to come might even change their mind. So you see in the end, it is going to affect the amount of trade that will come to Ghana in terms of the inflow of funds. Good. So there are so many factors. This one is what? Trade flows. We've discussed a few of them, but there are so many other factors. And I'll just group them. Government policies is one of them. And if you look at all these factors, they all fall under government policies. Restrictions on imports. If government says no importation of rice, it means you can't import rice. That will affect our current account balance. Will it be positive or negative? If government says we shouldn't import rice, will it increase our current account balance or reduce our current account balance?
So to reduce our current.
It will increase the balance because imports will take money away from Ghana, right? So it will increase our current account balance. If government gives subsidies to exporters, it means they can produce at a lower cost and be competitive in the international market. And that means they are going to be able to sell at lower prices and they will be able to sell more, which will bring money to Ghana. So it will be positive on our current account balance. Restrictions on piracy. I'm sure you know about piracy.
No, sir.
Oh, you don't know piracy? Who knows what piracy is?
Sir, do you mean piracy as in on the internet or on the sea?
Just tell me what you know about piracy, and then we'll tell you whether that's what we are looking for or not.
I think it's theft on the sea.
Please raise your hand, Carl. Sorry, Nee, let me hear you.
So piracy, basically, what I understand is that you get things that are supposed to be paid for free.
Mm-hmm.
So that is it.
Yes. So if a government lacks or government is not serious about putting restrictions on piracy, for instance, you are a musician, and then, okay, well, these days they don't even have the CDs available. You produce your CD and then you are selling. Somebody takes that CD, goes to copy it, and then produce multiple or many copies of it, and then is also selling. And government doesn't care. Okay. Or you have come up with a new technology, and that technology, you're supposed to be selling it to businesses. Somebody steals or copies that technology and then is also selling that technology for money, and government is not serious about that. So if government lack restrictions on piracy, it is going to affect the flow of trade into that country. Okay. So a government that does not act to minimize piracy may indirectly reduce what?
The current account.
It will reduce trade among them. It will reduce trade flow into that country. And you even discourage multinational corporations from exporting or importing to your country. And that is going to affect the flow of trade. Who wants to go to a country where illegality is encouraged or nothing is done about illegality? Then we have environmental restrictions. Can you think of some environmental restrictions that government can put? And how will that affect trade flow? Who will suffer from these environmental restrictions? Local businesses, right? Or let me say,
the citizens.
Firms in the domestic economy are going to experience higher costs of production as a result of the environmental restrictions that are put in place. Remember, we discussed some factors interfering with the flow of flow of trade last week. We mentioned environmental constraints, factors affecting multinational corporations' pursuit of their objectives. Environmental constraints, we mentioned ethical constraints, and we also mentioned regulatory constraints. So go and look at those environmental constraints, and that's what we mean here. Then we also have labor laws, business laws, tax laws or tax breaks, tax holidays, tax rebates, tax exemptions, country trade requirements, government ownership or subsidies, country security laws, policies to punish country governments in case the government misbehaves. So these are all considered government policies. We can't discuss all of them. Read the book. I think everything is captured there. Okay. So I've summarized some of them here. But like I said, we can't do all of them. So please read on that for me. Then the next factor after the government policy is what? Exchange rate. So exchange rate is very key, when it comes to affecting the flow of trade into countries. We say that the current account decreases if currency appreciates relative to other currencies. Why do we say that? We are saying that if the Ghana cedi gains value today against foreign currencies such as the dollar, we are saying that our current account balance will reduce. Who can be critical about this and tell me why? Yes, you don't have to be right. Somebody should try. Yes. Okay, there's a hand. Let me hear Kwabena. Maybe this time your network will be better. Kwabena Yadon. Or you raise your hand in error. Carl.
Hello, sir. Hello.
Yes. Yes, I can hear you. Yes, Kwabena, let's hear you. Your network is very bad.
If the currency increases in value compared to other currencies, the price of the goods we export will be cheap, and so other countries will want to purchase them.
Please.
Which will
the network, I can't. Who is talking?
Hello, sir.
Yes, Bernard, let me hear you.
Yeah, sir. So, with the current account, is that it comes into display when we do purchase, we do transactions daily transactions in other countries. So let's take it that if domestically, hello.
Yeah, I can hear.
So let's take it that domestically, yeah. So if domestically we produce on our own, we feed on our own productions and stuff. We wouldn't be importing. It makes a currency which so exchange rate to be the current account was our currency appreciates or is stable.
So it increases the value, the balance on the current account. Is that what you're saying?
No,
it decreases. I can't hear you well. So let's explain it and move on. The current account will decrease if the currency appreciates relative to other currencies. For instance, if a US company, let me just use this. If a US company exports something to Ghana, how will we see the goods? Let's say they are charging us $1 for a bottle of water. How will you see the goods? Will it be too expensive or it will be too cheap?
It will be too expensive.
$1, but it is too expensive. Meanwhile, maybe Americans pay more than $1 for a bottle of water. Do you get that? And it's because the American currency is stronger. So if a country's currency is stronger, the exports of that country are going to be expensive. And for that matter, people will not buy. So your inflow from exports is going to be less. Similarly, if your country's currency is strong, your imports are going to be cheaper. And that's what is happening to a lot of countries. Imports are going to be cheaper. And that means that your citizens are even going to be demanding for imports at the expense of the locally produced one. Meaning your imports are increasing and your exports are decreasing. And that leaves you in a very bad state. Your current account balance will definitely decrease. Reduction in exports and increase. Reduction in export alone will lead to a decrease in your current account balance. And an increase in imports will even make it worse. It will also increase your reduce your current account balance. Yes, Ni, your hand is up. Let me hear you. Ni? Hello? Okay, Ni, you are not here with us. You just raise your hand in error. So I believe we are all okay with that. Alfred, do you have a question? All right. So exchange rates, the country with the stronger currency will suffer because the exports are going to be expensive and imports are going to be cheaper. So it will cause trade imbalance and current account balance will decrease. So when a home currency is exchanged for a foreign currency to buy foreign goods, then the home currency faces downward pressure, leading to increased foreign demand for the country's products. Any questions? So exchange rates may correct the balance of payment deficit. How? You can deliberately work to reduce the value of your currency. And when that happens, I'm sure China does that. Recently, Trump was very mad at China for deliberately reducing the value of the Chinese currency, which means that China's exports were now cheaper, even in the US. So citizens or the global market demanded more Chinese goods than American goods. And that means that China is going to benefit from increased exports. So if the value of a currency is high compared to its trading partners, then that country's exports are going to be more expensive. All right. But you can correct that by putting in place measures to reduce the value of the currency. But that also has a disadvantage. When the currency has no value, it also has some disadvantages. As we progress, you will see where the disadvantage is. So limitations of a weak home currency. What are the limitations? Foreign companies may lower their prices to remain competitive. Please give me a second. Let me. Good. So we were saying, making a point that a country can weaken its currency just to gain an advantage. That is by making its exports cheaper, and for that matter, making them more competitive in the global market. And we're also saying that that can also have some limitations. one, foreign companies may just lower their prices also to remain competitive. So if you're exporting to Nigeria, yeah, Victoria.
So the subtopic is saying limitations of a weak home currency solution.
Yes.
The solution.
This is what we said. We said that exchange rate is one of the factors that affect the flow of trade. Okay. And we made a point, an argument that a strong home currency will decrease the exports because your exports are going to be cheaper. And a weak home currency will increase your exports. And we're saying that to gain an advantage, some countries work towards reducing the value of their currency. And I gave China as an example, where they deliberately work to reduce the value of their currency, okay, against the trading partners, which means that Chinese goods are going to be cheaper in the foreign international market. Now, I gave an example of a US company selling water in Ghana, selling water to foreign countries such as Ghana at $1 per bottle. And you and I know that the $1 is going to be very expensive in Ghana here. Okay. But if they are selling a bottle of water at $1 in the US, that might be normal. Okay. Currently, we are paying, how much is a bottle of water in Ghana? How much is a bottle of water?
500 liters.
Sorry, the big one, the 1.5 liters.
One city 20%.
No, I'm talking about the 1.5 liters.
1 city.
It's not 1 city, I beg you.
4 cities.
Or you don't take that one, so you don't know the price.
1 city.
The 50%.
So 2 cities.
Are you sure? It's not 2 cities. I'm talking about the 1.5, the biggest.
5 cities.
The biggest one is 4 cities now.
It's 4 cities now.
Sir, please, 4 cities now.
4 cities.
My area is
good. Yes.
Yes, please.
So now, if you go to Nigeria to sell a bottle of water at 4 cities, do you know how much you'll be selling it in Naira? You don't know. Okay, let's check. And then if you have a Nigerian friend, I'll encourage you to tell the person that you want to bring water to Nigeria and sell at what is it?
4 cities.
4 cities. So let me just see. CD, Naira, CD Naira exchange rate. 1 CD is equal to 58 Naira. You can see it. Where is it?
200.
So 1 CD is equal to 58.02 Naira. Okay, 58 Naira, 2 kobo. So if you are dealing with 4 cities, you are paying 232 Naira, 7 kobo for a bottle of water. Just tell your Nigerian friend that, ask them how much they buy a bottle of water of a similar size in Nigeria. So if you export water, if you export to Nigeria, your goods are going to be very expensive because to you, 4 cities is nothing. Okay, but in Nigeria, that 4 cities is going to translate into 232 Naira, and they will see it to be very expensive. So they won't buy. Okay, so if your currency is very strong, it also gives you that disadvantage of making your exports very expensive. And that means that the income you're going to make from exports is going to be very small. Nobody will buy. But that doesn't mean that we shouldn't work towards increasing the value of the Ghana cedi. There are so many other advantages of having a strong currency. And when we get there, we will discuss them. So because of this problem, countries are working to reduce the value of their currencies, especially if the country has enough capacity to produce more goods and services. Ghana, we don't have that capacity. Okay, so we are unable to produce enough. So we are still working to attract foreign direct investment. Okay, we are still working to attract foreign direct investment. That's why we want to strengthen the Ghana cedi a little. And we don't have enough to export. That's also another point. Now, if countries want to reduce the value of their currency, we are saying that that may also be problematic. Okay? It may not work. And what are the reasons? One, exchange rate will not automatically correct any international trade balances when other forces are at work. There are so many other factors that influence your exports, your ability to sell more. It's not just the foreign currency. So even if you are able to reduce the strength of your currency, and because of that, it would have led to a reduction in the price of your goods, some other forces may not work in your favor, and that would definitely. Yes, let me hear you, Victoria.
Sir, please, you're not sharing that screen.
I'm still sharing it. Why exchange rates may not correct a balance of trade deficits. Okay, so this is where I am. So I'm giving a general statement why it may not work. There are other forces at work. Okay, and then when you come to the next slide, we are talking about that limitations of a weak home currency. For instance, if you reduce the value of your currency and you export to foreign countries, the corporations in those foreign countries may also reduce their prices just to remain competitive. So the advantage you were seeking, you may not even get. Okay, so to remain competitive, companies in Nigeria or in Ghana, let's say if it is a Nigerian firm exporting to Ghana, okay, because the Nigerian currency is weaker than the Ghanaian currency. So if they export to Ghana, thinking that their goods are going to be cheaper, there are other factors. One, Ghanaian companies can also decide to work to reduce their prices just to remain competitive. What of the competition coming from Nigeria? Okay, good. There are also impact of other currencies. You can't solve all the deficits simultaneously. Remember, we don't have just one country, one currency. Maybe whilst you are trying to weaken your currency against the dollar, other countries are working to increase the value of their currency against the dollar. Okay? And you are dealing with several other countries. So you can't do that for all countries. And that means that your policy might not work across all countries. And that would not give you the advantage that you are seeking. The third reason is that most international trade transactions are pre-arranged and you cannot adjust it immediately. And some say that the lag is estimated to be about 18 months or longer. And that leads to what we call the J-curve effect. When we meet in class, I will spend more time to explain the J-curve effect to you. We will have to draw a curve and then use it to illustrate. We also have intra-company trade. Many firms purchase products that are produced by their subsidiaries, okay? Subsidiaries in the foreign lands. And these transactions, as you know, are not necessarily affected by currency fluctuations. Okay, so even if you weaken your currency, they will still buy the same quantity they buy because for them, they know how to do things to avoid any disadvantage that may result. So these are the weaknesses. Exchange rates and international friction. You should also know that all governments cannot weaken their home currencies simultaneously. And an action by one government to weaken this currency will also cause other countries' currency to strengthen. So let's say if Ghana weakens the Ghana cedi, it means that against the Naira, it means the Naira is gaining strength, right? Don't worry, we will do depreciation, appreciation, devaluation, revaluation. We will do all those things. And then you attempt, you understand these issues that we are talking about. Okay, so let's move away from that. Capital flows. Remember what we've been talking about is trade. Okay, we've been talking about international trade, and I'm sure you know what trade is. Import and export, right? Import and export. That's what we've been talking about, factors that affect the flow of trade. Factors that affect your ability to export, factors that affect your ability to import, and then your current account balance. That's why we keep referring to current account. But now we are talking about capital flows, international capital flows. And I'm sure you know what the capital is. Okay, long-term investments in foreign lands, foreign direct investment, or you can also say long-term investments from foreign lands. So if foreigners are coming to invest long-term in Ghana, like MTN is a foreign company, but they have investments in Ghana. Standard Chartered Bank, Zenith Bank, GT Bank, Nestle, Unilever, Guinness. These are all foreign companies, but they have long-term investments in Ghana. You can refer to that as foreign direct investment. So what factors will motivate a corporation to go and set up in a foreign land? That means capital is flowing into that country. Or what factors will influence multinational corporations from coming to do business in Ghana? Okay, that's what we are coming to discuss now. Changes in restrictions. So if government removes barriers, okay, barriers. I'm not just talking about trade barriers only. Okay, we're talking about barriers. For instance, in the past, the telecoms industry was not opened up. So we had only one or state-owned telecom industry, Ghana Telecom. Okay? But later on, the telecom sector was opened up to the private sector, and then you see other telecom companies coming up. So if such a barrier is removed, then it creates a new opportunity for multinational corporations to come to Ghana and set up telecoms industry. Okay, so that is a typical example. So a removal of some barriers or government barriers will create opportunities, and people will come to the countries where the barriers are removed because they've seen new opportunities there. And that means that trade or capital is moving to Ghana. Remember, when they're coming with huge sums of money to invest, to set up in Ghana, and that money is coming to Ghana. That's why we call it capital flow. Or if a foreign company buys another company owned by Ghanaians, it's still the same. The money is remaining in Ghana. So it brings capital to Ghana. Okay, privatization. So that is also another factor that can stimulate FDI. Okay. If government decides to privatize, like what we had recently, Ghana Telecom has been privatized, then you see it as an opportunity. A multinational corporation called Vodafone, they came to Ghana and they bought Ghana Telecom from the government of Ghana. Okay, and that gives them the opportunity to operate. The banking sector was also recently, in the not too distant, but open up. We only had a few private banks in Ghana prior to 2000. Okay, but after the liberalization of the banking sector, we had a lot of banks coming to Ghana, largely Nigerian banks. Okay. So managers of privately owned businesses are motivated to ensure profitability, and that further stimulates FDI. Remember, the private sector is noted to be better managers than the public sector. Okay, governments are unable to effectively manage businesses to generate enough return, but the private sector is very effective in managing businesses. And when other corporations see that existing businesses in your country are making enough profit, then it will attract these multinational corporations, and then they will want to come to Ghana with capital in order to invest. So privatization is also good, and that can also influence the inflow of capital to a country. Then economic growth. When people see that your country has potential to grow, when the economy grows, it means people are going to earn higher income, and they're going to demand for more goods and services. So if you realize that a country has a potential, then it becomes a basis to go there and set up, because demand for your goods and services are likely to increase. Okay, economic growth comes with increased income. So if you see a country with a potential to grow, then that is a basis for you to go to that country and set up. And that means you are sending capital to that country. So multinational corporations always look at country with the potential to experience or to achieve higher economic growth. Good. Then they also look at tax rates. This is a very key component, a very key factor that multinational corporations look at. Nobody wants to pay higher taxes. So if the tax regime is not feasible, it's not flexible, and it is not competitive, then multinational corporations will not want to move to that country. That's why you see countries competing amongst themselves in terms of granting tax rebates, tax holidays, tax exemptions to multinational corporations that come to set up in their countries. All this is to attract capital. Okay, so tax rates also play a role. Then, of course, exchange rates. Okay, so just look at this point, and then you compare to the earlier argument that we made. We said that countries with strong currency are unable to export more. Okay, good. But now look at this point. Firms typically prefer to pursue DFI or FDI in countries where the local currency is expected to strengthen against their own. Okay, if a Ghanaian firm goes to Nigeria and then they make a profit of 10 million naira, let's see how much 10 million naira will be in Ghana City. How much will it be? 10 million naira. Let's just type 1. How many zeros? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? Sorry, I'm putting it in the city section. So 10 million naira. One more. So what will you have? 172,360 Ghana cedis. That's not a lot of money, is it? It's not. So 10 million naira compared to 172,000. So you would think in Nigeria, 10 million naira is a lot of money. Okay. But when you convert it to Ghana cedi, remember the corporation is a Ghanaian corporation doing business in Nigeria. So when they make the naira, they will have to convert it to cedi in order to remit to the head office in Ghana. So that is not going to be a lot of money. On the other hand, think of a Nigerian corporation operating in Ghana, and let's say they make 10 million naira, 10 million cedis profit. How much do we have? We have 580 million naira. Okay, and that is a lot of money in Nigeria. So they will see it to be a lot. So corporations want to pursue FDI in countries where they believe that the country's currency is going to strengthen against their home currency. And when that happens, you earn your income in naira, and then you convert it to cedi, you are going to have more. For instance, if your brother promises you, or let's say your brother comes from the US, and then he gives you $1,000, what would you be wishing in terms of the exchange rate between the cedi and the naira? Would you want the dollar to gain more value, or you'd want the cedi to gain more value? The dollar should strengthen, the cedi should further depreciate, so that when you convert your $1,000 to cedis, you are going to have more cedis. You get it? So businesses or corporations also think that way. They also think that way. They would want to pursue FDI in countries where they have the belief that the country's currency will strengthen against their home currency. So exchange rate is also one factor that can influence the flow of trade to the country. So we've identified changes in restrictions, privatization, potential economic growth, tax rates, exchange rates. Then the last one, tax rates on interest or dividends. Okay, so this is also tricky. Remember, we spoke about portfolio investments. Okay, portfolio investments. So tax rates on income or interest income or dividend income. Investors normally prefer to invest in a country where taxes are relatively low. So if I invest in the US and they are going to charge me 50% tax on any income that I earn, and then if I invest in Germany, they are going to charge me, let's say, 30% on any income that I earn. Where do you think I want to go? Of course, I want to go where the tax rates on interest or dividends are lower. Then we have interest rates. I think, yeah, so we are now discussing the portfolio investment. So this one, FDI, and then portfolio investment. But they are both capital flows. Okay, portfolio investment is also considered as capital flow. Then interest rates is also one. Money tends to flow to countries with high interest rates. Okay, you want to invest in a country where you're going to earn higher interest rates. So if the interest rate is higher, then you want to move your capital there. Banks want to lend to, want to set up in countries where interest rates are higher. That's why you see a lot of Nigerian banks in Ghana. The interest rate in Ghana is just too high compared to what is paid in Nigeria. So banks who want to lend in Ghana, that's why they set up subsidiaries. So they push the money to the subsidiaries in Ghana. They give it out as credit and they earn very high interest rate. The tax rates in Ghana are also favorable. Okay, so the interest that they are going to earn, it will not be tax match. And for that matter, they'll have more. Then exchange rate, of course, you want to invest in a country where the currency is expected to strengthen. We've explained this once already. So broadly, the factors that affect the flow of funds are the flow of capital are the exchange rate, the interest rate, the taxes, okay, then potential economic growth, and then privatization and changes in restrictions. So these are the factors. So you see some of them are common, the FDI, taxes, exchange rate. Then here we have the same taxes, the exchange rate is common here, but we have to add interest as well. Any questions so far? These ones I'll ask you to go and read on them. Agencies that facilitate international trade flow. Yes, Theophilus. Sorry, Victoria, let me hear you.
So my question was with the other side where I asked of the subtopic.
Yes.
Please, there was solution attached to it.
Okay, let me see. Where? What was it?
Limitations of a weak.
Mm-hmm. Limitations of a weak home currency solution.
Currency, yes.
Yes.
The solution is what I didn't get because it was talking about limitations.
I explained that to you. We said that current account decreases if currency appreciates relative to other currencies. We said one solution you can give to that, how you may use that to correct your balance of trade deficit, is to weaken your currency. Okay, when a home currency is exchanged for a foreign currency, let's say we are buying more and more dollars. If the Ghana cedi, okay, let me just see. If Ghana cedi is stronger than the Nigerian currency, okay, and we want to weaken the Ghana currency, we just have to demand more and more Naira, meaning we are supplying more and more Ghana cedi to buy the Naira. And that means the value of the Naira will become stronger, okay? And the cedi weakens. If the cedi weakens, then, do you get it? So we are suggesting a solution to correcting the current account deficit that we spoke about when our currency is stronger. So that's the solution. But we are saying that solution has some weaknesses. And that's what we discuss here.
Okay, sir. Thank
Do
you.
you understand?
Yes, please.
All right. Thank you. Any other? So these are some agencies. I'm sure you know about them. Just read the book. Read about them, the history, when they were formed, their core mandate, and so many other issues. The IMF, the World Bank, the World Trade Organization, International Finance Corporation, IFC. We have IDA, International Development Association, Bank for International Settlements, BIS, OECD, Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. Then we have regional development agencies such as Inter-American Development Bank, Asian Development Bank, African Development Bank, European Bank for Reconstruction and Development. These are all agencies that will facilitate international trade. So I've done a summary also here. When you get the slides, it's a summary of the issues that we have discussed. And there's a quiz at the end. Okay, let's call it a discussion question. So please discuss this amongst yourself. Next week, we will spend first 30 minutes to discuss them. Okay, these are 4. Let me just go through them. Is a current account deficit something to worry about? If the government wants to correct the current account deficit, why can't it simply enforce restrictions on imports? Okay, so this is a discussion question. Who can speak to it? I think it's time, right? So it's time. But you can speak. We have 1 minute. So let me hear what you have to say.
So countries can't simply restrict imports, because if they do that, other countries may also restrict exportations of goods from that country,
Yes, so they will retaliate.
There's the same.
So there are two sides to the argument. Because of time, we may not be able to do all that. But I want you to read that section of the book. At the end of every chapter, there's a discussion question. Okay, some of them, they provide you the guidelines as to what to say. But when we meet in class, please let's discuss these policies. Now, the second one, should trade restrictions be used to influence human rights issues, like what is happening in where? Russia and Ukraine. Sanctions upon sanctions. We are asking whether it is justified. Should it be used to correct or to correct human rights issues? So let's think about that as well. So look at the rest, and then we'll discuss them next week. So if you have no questions, then we'll end the lecture and start next week. Questions?